guys, it's Julian, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make no art and Toman style minimal deep tech house. I'm going to be showing you a bunch of new stuff that I've learned from both their recent releases. As usual, you can get the full project files, samples, MIDI, presets. Everything from this video is available at the top of the description. You just heard the loop in the intro. If you want the Ableton file and samples and the MIDI and the presets, again, the link is right at the top of the description. Plus, it's just $5 and it really helps support me. So yeah, definitely go check that out, and let's dive in. Alright, so we're on 128 BPM. First sound that we have here is the kick. And as you can hear, this is just a standard 909 kick. Now, the key to this one is that you can see there's no processing. It's just turned up properly in the mix, so you don't really need any processing to get it to hit right. It's just going to sit on top of everything nicely like that. But then the important thing with this one is tuning it, because the 909 kick has a lot of like boom, kind of like tonal stuff to it. So what you gotta do is make sure it's in tune. You can see I put mine up +1 to be in key with the bass line. Now, the thing about this is that it can be kind of hard to tune your kick, right? Like, how would you just go from this and figure out how to tune it? The way I like to do it, let's put the kick up a few octaves. You can hold down shift and press up or down on your keyboard. And now you can see it jumps a whole octave. And now you can hear it's in tune, right? Because you can hear that. It's that note. But then let's say we put it back to the default. And you can hear something's a little bit off, right? Then we put it back up one. And there we go. So it's a really easy way to tune kicks like this. And sometimes it might not be easy to hear. You might have to do this, but then also put the bass line up an octave. And then you can hear it there too. Because the thing is, it might not seem like that big of a deal, but check out what happens if I push the kick out of tune. And then now it's back in tune. See, like the whole groove is thrown off if it's not in tune, so that's important. Then we have the bass line, which is made up of two sounds, and it sounds like this. So this is the main bass sound, and then there's this one kind of in the background. But yeah, so for this one, you can see it's really simple notes, right? It's just going to be 3 notes here. We're just doing A sharp, G sharp, and F. Technically, we're in the key of, I guess you could say A sharp, minor. But it's a very major sounding bass line. And I think that's kind of like the key here. And then the sound here is made with 2 pretty simple patches. So the first one is this FM patch. We can see it's a sine wave with a few different sine waves doing some FM on that. And this last one, you'll notice we've got the envelope set differently on each one. The last one has this really short envelope, and this is actually a great technique I wanted to show you guys with FM, where essentially you can just have one of these oscillators and then just have like a really short envelope, so it's just basically right at like a little like it's just this tiny little sound. But then you can hear, if I turn it up, you really hear it. It just adds like a really nice punch to the sound. So yeah, doing that can lead to some cool stuff. So I've got that, and then underneath that bass patch, we have this analog patch, which is just 2 saw waves an octave apart, going into a low pass filter. They're being high pass, and this is just to add a little bit more mid-range to the bass, right? Because like this on its own is good, but it's too much just sub. You need that extra like kind of juicy layer over top of it. So we've got that, and then that's being sidechained a little bit, and that's really it for the processing on the bass. You know, I used to do a lot more processing on the kicks and basses in these kinds of tracks, but you'll notice that if you do less like this and just turn them up right in the mix, a lot of times it's actually more impactful. So then we have this bonus bass, which on first listen, especially on its own, might sound a little bit crazy. This is kind of based actually on like some more like future house style sound design, but it adds a really nice layer to the bass line, and when you hear it in the whole mix of all the tracks, it fits really well, I think. Just to double up the eighth notes in the bass line. So yeah, the notes for this. The key to this one is it's the same notes as the main bass line, right? Like you don't want this to be playing its own pattern or anything. But then we're just very selective with the notes that we use. Like it just goes da da da, and the second time it's just da na na na. So like just kind of, pretty simple there. For the actual sound, this is made honestly with not too far off of an operator patch from that last synth, right? You can see it's just a bunch of sine waves with plucky envelopes. Now the thing that makes this one a little bit more interesting is where we have the courses, the course pitches I should say, on each oscillator. That's essentially what's creating the metallic sound. If I put these back down, so you get more like that. And you can see as we put them up octaves, you get that more like metallic kind of plucky sound. And then those are all going into a low pass here without that. And then with it, just adds a little bit of pluck to the sound. I've got a bit of chorus, a compressor side chaining this to the kick, and then just a high pass filter to make sure it doesn't get in the way of the actual bass. And then after that, we have the main hi-hat. There we are. So you can hear this is 3 layers and it's super fat sounding. And this is something that you want to keep in mind, right? Like a lot of times when we're thinking hi-hat, you think, okay, you just grab an open hi-hat sample from a sample pack and that's how it works. But actually, to make this like main hi-hat really work with the kick and get that proper boonch, boonch, you really need this to be as fat as possible. And that comes from layering. So what we're doing here is we have this one, which is just kind of like this nice minimal hat of mine. We have this one, which is, you can hear, so we have like a 909 hi-hat. One, which is just giving you that in the mid-range. And then this one, which just gives you that bright high end. Like that. And then you put them all together and you get that really full sound. And this can be a bit daunting, especially like if you're directly referencing these tracks. Like if you're going back and forth between like sample pack hi-hats and then say like a Toman track, like you'll see the difference I'm talking about. You know, you really gotta get those layers so that, because the thing is like we have so many different little percussion sounds down here, right? That like this needs to stand out. Like it needs to be like these drums right up front. Like this main hi-hat and then the clap and stuff. And then all these other little background sounds, like it needs to be very clearly differentiated. And so that layering really helps with that. And also, like I said, just makes it fatter. Then we have the clap and snare, which obviously you can hear, it's kind of an interesting dynamic here. So we have this like kind of more chill, minimal style clap. You know, just super short and punchy on the 2 and 4 there. And then we just have this extra snare on every 2. And that kind of creates an interesting groove with the drums, right? That we don't really hear in house that much. So it's really just about like kind of getting creative with it and having like putting the notes that have to be there in there, like the boom has to all be there. But then getting interesting with it and kind of like accentuating it with extra notes and little things like this reverb snare. And that's just going to a bit of reverb, high pass filter, pretty simple stuff. Then we have this shaker. So this is just like a nice organic shaker. Got it in there doing the like chick chick. This one seems like a really background element, but if I turn it off, you can see there's definitely something missing. Then we have like these little sounds. And so these are all the little background percussions. And when you play them on their own, obviously it sounds a bit odd. But if I play it with like one of these hi-hats, you can hear it's pretty busy, right? Like there's something happening on almost every single 16th note. But then what differentiates it is just like the hardness of different sounds, right? Like some sounds are a little bit louder, some sounds are a little bit quieter, some are a little bit longer, some are a little bit shorter. And it's all that nuance there, essentially, that's creating this groove, right? Because what's the difference between having, say, like in this case, it's 5 different sounds, doing all these 16th notes versus just having like one sound, but it's the same programming. Well, this is why you do this. So what I recommend you do is just find like 5 or 6 percussion sounds right off the bat, and then put them in like on every 16th note like this, like chicka 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 chicka. And then you can have like just different sounds at different times, and then essentially that's what creates it. And then you can see, now this isn't on every 16th note, right? Like here and here, for example, there isn't something. So that's where you would go and like cut it out then, once you have all those in there. But it's actually not that hard. It just can be hard if you're thinking that it's going to be like 1 or 2 sounds. But if you approach it from the right mindset, I think that ultimately, like, not that hard to make all these little percussions. And then we have this bongo, which is kind of in that same group, but it's got a little bit of interesting stuff going on. You can see we have this low pass filter actually being automated, so you kind of get like a, like it makes the percussion kind of evolve. And it's a really nice way to just take a little background sound like this, but really bring it like right up front and make it more interesting. Like it's adding a lot of ear candy to the track, and something that's going to be very interesting to hear throughout the track. Then we have this little drum rack with some vocals, which you may not even always notice, but it's just adding a little groove to the background. If I turn off the lead in the vocal, you can really hear it. So it's this almost like ambient layer of just these 2 little vocal samples. These are just some that I recorded myself actually like a while ago. Like those are both my voice, but just pitched up a lot. They're each also going through a bandpass filter, which you can see has an envelope on it. So that's how you're getting that like kind of thing. And then it's just going through some echo and some reverb. And again, this just adds like a nice little like kind of here and there layer, right? Because all these percussions and hi-hats and kicks and claps and bassline, that's all constantly going over and over and over. This is a sound that you're only going to hear once every 2 bars like this, but that's all that you need. And it just adds kind of like some more space to the track. Then we have this FM lead. So this is actually pretty simple notes. It's all just notes in the A sharp minor scale. Like I said, that's the key we're in. So you can see like we have our root note, our minor third, our 4th. I believe this is, yeah, just another 4th, an octave up, and then the root note again. And then over here, it's the same intervals. So just again, using notes from that scale, but just creating this like nice kind of like almost very dreamy sounding like lead, right? Like, and then just letting that ring out and kind of hearing how that's going to play out over top of the bass line and the main groove. And it kind of goes back to what I was saying with that last drum rack too. Like this is a sound that plays once every 2 bars and it just rings out and it adds something very nice and kind of smooth over top of this beat. And so for the sound on this one, this is also made with FM synthesis. As you can see, FM, very important for this style of house. And this one, we're also using sine waves, and actually very similar to that first bass I showed you. See, we're doing that same thing here where this has like a really short envelope. But that's what's giving you that like pluck on the sound. If I turn that off, see, it's a lot more flat. And that second chorus pitch is up pretty high as well. Like this is almost like a bell type of sound. And then we just got a bit of echo and some reverb. You can see I've got like slower echoes on this one since it rings out so much. I've got a bit of drum bass to fatten this one up. And then just a high pass filter to make sure it's not going to get in the way of the lows. And the last sound down here is this main vocal. So it's just this little vocal sample I just took and chopped it so it fits on the beat a little better. Ooh. And yeah, this is just going through a bit of echo and a high pass filter. The main thing with this one is just knowing where to place it, right? Like I think a lot of times people want to do like just drop it right on the 1, like. But it's not actually as impactful as you kind of let it ring or let the beat ring. and then hit it like that. So just kind of like understanding the placement of the vocals. And you can even do like eighth notes or something, you know, you could do like. And yeah, so that is going to be it for the vocals, and that's also going to be it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get this full project file, samples, MIDI, presets, the vocals, literally everything that you saw in this video is available right at the top of the description on my website, on my Bandcamp, for just $5. Really helps support me if you guys enjoyed these videos. I don't make a whole lot just off of YouTube alone, but with these sample packs and different things like this, I'm able to keep going and keep bringing you guys new videos every single day. Plus, you get some of the best samples on the market right now. Link is right in the top of the description. Thank you so much for the support, everybody, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.